Hey everybody. So the second Google form I want to show you that I found really saves time once we teach students the routine of doing it and really frees me up to do things that I can spend my time doing more things with than doing some status of the class stuff is taking a status of the class. So I've used this type of Google form a couple of different ways. As a classroom teacher, I used it as the quote unquote reading log. I took a status of the class for the kids to tell me what they were reading. So usually on their book shopping days, I had them type in what they were reading, if and whenever they happened to change books, they added them into the Google form. This really helped me see how long they were sticking with a book, if I needed to have some conversations with them. This was really helpful, particularly if I had students who were out a lot, or if for some reason I couldn't get to conference with everybody that week. The other way that I've used it was as an exit ticket status of the class because I frequently had students learning at working on different things and moving at their own pace. So it was a good way for me to see where everybody was so that if I noticed it was taking a couple of kids forever to research in between my times of conferring with them, then I knew that would help me say, okay, tomorrow I'm pulling this small group. Or if I have kids who I notice like, okay, they really, they have finished their research and I have not had a chance to confer with them yet, then that gave me a chance to confer with them, check in with them, see if there was anything I could push in for them, see if I could perhaps like talk with them and move them on to the next step of their learning. So again, to do that, we're going to click New, Google Form. And this one, I am just going to name reading status. And one of the things that I like doing is I like changing the color palette. Now, because this one is like a reading status of the class, I'm going to actually change it to some kind of book background. One of the tricky things is that when you change the background, you have to be a little patient because sometimes it takes a tick for it to load. I always love this one. And it's not letting me do it because my recording thing's in the way. So I'm going to choose that one. And it's going to load. While it's loading, I'm going to start with my question. So I always start with name. It's going to change to a short answer. Again, you can do a drop down if you want to. And then I'm going to add a question. And usually my question is, what are you reading? Now, this is a pretty simple one for just like a reading status of the class. Now, I'm going to put this also as a short answer because they're going to type in the text of their book. The other thing you could do for younger kids is you could do a file upload. And so they could take a picture of the books that they're reading and upload it. But honestly, if you're going to do that, you could just use Seesaw for that. So you can do a reading status and then what are you reading? And I'm going to make that a required question as well. When I go into responses, I'm going to click a new spreadsheet. I'm going to create it, but I'm going to click on this button here because you can do a couple of different things here. That's not what I want to do. I want settings. So in my settings, I don't want to restrict it. Oh, I could restrict it to correct users. I don't need their email. I don't want to check limit to one response because they could potentially be reading more than one book at a time. So I can click this so they can see what they've actually responded. And then presentation, show link to submit another response. I want that in case they're reading more. confirmation message. So sometimes I just put something like, oh, reading is thinking, or whatever my message is. And I don't want it in quiz, so I'm just going to click save. All right. And then the same thing, I'm going to send it to them. I can send it via the link. I can, and I love this because I like shorthand URL. So the link doesn't get that long either. And then I can also, again, go into QR stuff and make a QR code for them to scan it. This is, I found, works really well with older kids because they can save the link and they can bookmark it and they can go back to it consistently.